Good morning, Britannia, and hello to the rest of the world. Welcome to Tousi TV and the Morning Brief, the news show that comes to you guys every day at 11 a.m. UK time with the latest news headlines. Let's focus on today's top stories because as we get closer to the new Chancellor's budget, the war on pensioners is escalating. Yes, there are still coming up with new policies, bad policies to punish the pensioners, this socialist government. We're of course also going to be discussing the regular threats to our politicians, democracy, but as well as our ordinary citizens when it comes to Islamism. The latest target has been the Labour MP and Minister Jess Phillips. We're going to be talking about that, and of course, speaking of politicians and the Labour Party, we're going to talk about the corrupt politicians that we have who are taking advantage of people's tax money while punishing the taxpayers. This is a very, very disturbing story which we're going to discuss in a second. And finally, the fuel duty, which has been frozen for some time, is going to be scrapped, which means you're going to have to pay much more than now when it comes to your petrol and everything else. Right, let's start by talking about the war on pensioners. We've already had some bad news over the last few days and weeks from this new socialist government when it comes to the winter fuel allowance, of course, being taken away, and not just those, well, it's not really just going to be affecting those who are millionaires and billionaires, but many others as well. Bus passes, the discounts for council tax, all at risk. All that is going to be going. So many of our old age pensioners who would rely on these sort of basic supports, considering they spend their lives working and contributing to the tax system, they are going to be potentially losing this. The Silver Voices as a group have come out to say that bus service and bus passes are really essential for older people. We say hands off the bus pass. And of course, we have to wait for the Chancellor to officially announce the new budget over the next few weeks and days. Now, the threat of Islamism continues to escalate in the Western world, especially in the United Kingdom, and even against our politicians. Nabil Arif, who is 36, has now been sentenced to just 3 months, 12 weeks, that's it, for threatening Jess Phillips. Now, Jess Phillips is a socialist MP. She's a government minister now inside the Labour Party, but she's still a democratically elected politician. She is our democratically elected representative in the House of Commons. Even if you agree or disagree with her policies, she's still a human being. He said that Jess Phillips would burn until her skin is no more because she has not come out to fully support Hamas in Gaza. It is all about the counterterrorism operation in Gaza by the IDF, and this whole conflict is of course creating tensions across the whole world, and Islamists like Nabil Arif are going around threatening MPs and only getting 3 months in jail. Jess Phillips expressed their fear that Arif's aggression could escalate and result in her coming to physical harm. The MP said that the fear had changed her life immeasurably and limited my freedom and my ability to do my job closely with the public as I used to. Now, on a very human level, I have sympathy, but at the same time, this is the same Jess Phillips who ignored the voiceless around the country, the silent majority who've been complaining about the risk to their own safety every single day, whether it's from the Islamist terrorists or grooming gangs and everything else, and Jess Phillips didn't care. Now that it's happened to her, she finally realizes that. It's a little bit too late, Jess Phillips. Now, let's talk about the corrupt Labour politicians, and while we are discussing these guys, we have now discovered that the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, has now claimed £4,400 in energy support and energy bills before deciding to scrap the winter fuel payments for millions of pensioners. 162 Labour MPs have now claimed £425,000 on expenses for their home energy use, according to IPSA, the independent Parliamentary Standards Authority. Liz Kendall, who's the Work and Pensions Secretary at DWP, has claimed £5,700 to cover her home energy bill over the last 5 years, enough to pay the winter fuel payments to 19 pensioners this winter. So the Labour politicians who are all on the actual base salary for the MPs are £91,000. On top of it, government ministers obviously get more money, and then they also get expenses, and of course they also get their own winter fuel payments, but you don't. Now, speaking of course, what's going to happen to a lot of people in terms of the safety net of this country, the fuel duty, which has been frozen under the Conservatives for some time, is going to also be potentially scrapped. So the cost of petrol and everything else is also going to be going up. The Treasury have said, following the spending audit, the Chancellor has been clear that difficult decisions lie ahead on spending, welfare and tax to fix the foundations of our economy and address the £22 billion hole in the public finances left by the last government. Decisions on how to do that will be taken at the budget in the round. Fair enough. According to the RAC Fuel Watch, who fight against this policy, the average price of petrol across the UK is now 139.41p per litre, while diesel drivers are paying an average of 144.16p. Now, of course, this will be increased on so many levels because of everything else that's going on. We do know there is a black hole. We do know that the economy needs to be fixed. But there's so many other areas that this Labour government could find savings and efficiencies and everything else. But they're not going to do that because a lot of more money is going to be sent to the bottomless pit that is the NHS. And, of course, more money for the Ukraine and everything else is going to happen over the next few months and years. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the latest episode of the Morning Brief on Tousi TV, which comes to you guys every day at 11 a.m. UK time. Our new daily schedule also includes the afternoon news at 1 p.m. UK time and the evening news at 7 p.m. UK time. And of course, throughout the day, any breaking news live stream will bring it to you. I'm Maya Tousi, and we are the media.